All right, let's talk a little ownership here, which is always a sexy topic in the NBA. We've got some ownership news, though, Rachel,
Yes.
involving two franchises on different coasts. And let's start in Portland, where the Portland Trailblazers have been sold. The Blazers, which have been on the market for the last few years, ever since Paul Allen passed away. His will stated that the team needed to be sold. His sister Jody had been operating it. Well, she has found an owner, Tom Dundon, who is the owner of the Carolina Hurricanes, billionaire. He is fronting the group that is going to buy the Trailblazers for $4 billion. Part of this group involves some local ties, so that's a reason to be optimistic if you're a Blazers fan about keeping your team in Portland. Your reaction to the Blazers, the price tag, and new ownership in Portland?
Well, it's interesting. I believe the sale has been reported to be almost 4 billion. Sorry, God forbid I say 4 million. 4 billion. Phil Knight apparently offered 2 billion, and I'm kind of surprised that he didn't go further than that, and certainly could have arranged an ownership group where he could have put together $4 billion. I mean, he's Phil Knight, and his Nike shares alone could probably self-finance it. So that surprised me a little bit. Dundon has said that he intends to keep the team in Portland. Also, Adam Silver recently made the point of saying that Portland needs a new arena.
Mm-hmm.
And he brought that up in context of a question about expansion to Seattle. So I don't think the people of Seattle who experienced having their team taken away are eager, as much as they love the Sonics, to take away Portland's team. But it is going to be interesting to see what happens with that building. If Dundon is willing to self finance a new arena, because I'm not sure in Oregon public funding for an arena is going to pass just politically.
Mm.
And we'll have to see. Adam has specifically made it a point of emphasis that they need a new arena there. And again, he brought that up in the context of a question about Seattle, Las Vegas expansion.
Yeah, nobody wants to see the Blazers move. They
No.
have fantastic fans that show up in the regular season, that show up in the playoffs, that were great during that conference finals run with Damian
Amazing.
Lillard and CJ McCollum. It's a great place, a great fan base for basketball. Also, Portland rules, man. And if you're a wine
Agreed.
drinker, if you're a wine drinker, go to Portland. Portland is phenomenal. The wine country is like 20 minutes from the airport. Like, that's where you want to go and you want to hang out. Shout out to my friends at Winderley, who are the Boston College owned vineyard out there
Oh boy.
in Portland. So I
Oh
give
boy.
them, I still order for them, Rachel, to this day. So Portland's a great neck of the woods. Great place to have an NBA team.
I love
But
the Rose Garden. I'm not saying it's not a fun. It's fine as a fan, in my opinion, but that's what the league has said.
yeah, what they call it, the Moda Center now. The Moda
Yeah.
Center
Sorry.
is,
Sorry.
yeah, we're giving Moda the credit that deserves right there for whatever Moda is. Um,
So Staples Center to me. Go on.
yeah, it's a bad building. It's a bad building. It's not the oldest building in the NBA, but it's not good. The locker rooms aren't great. The
Good.
concourses aren't great. It's not a great building. It's got to go. And look, to your point, Adam Silver wasn't asked about the building. He brought up the fact that the Blazers need a new building. And look, it's been reported that new ownership is going to keep the team in the Portland area. But I haven't heard Tom Dundon say it yet. Until I hear it out of his mouth whenever he meets with reporters or does an interview, that to me will be a very interesting answer, one I will be certainly parsing if he equivocates at all on that answer. The like, can he get public financing? To your point, that may be difficult. Is he willing to invest a ton of money into building a new arena? How important? I don't know the answer to that. But the lease on the Moda Center, it runs, I think, till 2030. And that's not a long time. Like, that's you're talking 5 years before this team can up and leave on its own. So hopefully, I know we both agree that they get together, find a way to build a new building, and that team stays in Portland for years to come. But I don't know if I'd be nervous if I was a Blazer. That nervous is too strong a word. But whenever a team gets sold to an out-of-town guy who has no ties to the area, yeah, you've got some minority owners that have some ties there. That's fine. But when you need a building and you don't know if that building's going to be coming, and there's an expiration date on your lease, you do want some urgency from everybody involved to get something done.
Yeah. And again, I don't think anyone in Seattle is looking to take Portland's team. The fans I've talked to don't feel that way. I love the Blazers. People who follow me on social media know I have a special affection for the Blazers. It's just the relationship there is so fun. But again, the people who run the league have brought up this point in one city in context with another city and the arena. So we'll see. I don't know where any of that's going. I think it's good that they finally have an owner and some leadership. Tom Dundon is by all accounts a very good guy in Dallas. Mark Cuban's given him his seal of approval. He runs I believe he owns the Pro Pickleball League also, in addition to the Carolina Panthers. But we'll just have to see where it goes from here.
Yeah, and look, he bought the Panthers, didn't move that. In fact, has done, by all accounts, a pretty good job as owner of the Panthers, invested in that team and helped make them successful. So, maybe he does the exact same thing with Portland. I do think it's interesting. And look, it's more interesting because, and you and I have discussed this, that it seems like expansion could be taking a backseat to relocation. It doesn't seem like that the league is as motivated to expand as they've been in years past, that owners currently are not eager to divvy up that national TV pie, maybe as they were in years past. I think there's still an appetite to put teams in Vegas and in Seattle, but I think it's more likely that we see current teams that are moved to those locations. And as long as there's that exit strategy with the lease and the building isn't that great, then it's something that's going to be on people's minds for the foreseeable future. The other ownership development, and a smaller one certainly, is in Boston, where Bill Chisholm was officially approved by the NBA, $6.1 billion for the Boston Celtics, a record price for the NBA, at least until the Lakers are officially sold. The news that came out of this, Rachel, was that Wyc Grousbeck, who is the outgoing owner for the Celtics, the leader of the group that is effectively financed by his father, Irv Grousbeck, he is not going to be the governor of the team. When this deal was put together, it was announced by the Celtics that Grousbeck would stay on as the team governor through 2028. He would maintain effectively control of basketball operations through 2028. The NBA came in and said, no. That's not how this works. The reasons I was told was that it's purely financial, that to be a governor of the team, you have to own at least 15% of the team. And Wyc Grousbeck does not own 15% of the Boston Celtics. In fact, the only person in this ownership group that does is Bill Chisholm. So he owns that piece. He's the governor. Wyc is the alternate governor. Reportedly, he's going to keep his job as CEO. Brad Stevens certainly still there. Rich Gotham, who runs business affairs, is still there. Do you think this is just, paperwork, or do you think this is a meaningful development with the Celtics?
We'll have to see, because we've heard this song before, right? Mark Cuban was going to stay on, I believe, when the Dallas sale was made. First, it was announced, I believe, that he was going to stay on as governor. Certainly that he was going to still run basketball operations. And pretty quickly, that was apparent that was not true. And, Mark made the point when the Luka trade happened, they didn't talk to me about this. I mean, when you make that major decision, it's pretty clear he's just not involved with running the team anymore. And that was not the announcement when he sold the team. We're seeing this happen in Boston. Here in LA, I'm very curious to see what happens with Mark Walter buying the team, because again, there was a similar announcement that Jeannie Buss is going to stay the governor and she's going to stay, the president of the team. And as we see with Wyc's situation in Boston, she can stay the president of the team for as long as Mark Walter wants to keep her in the job. And I would argue that both of those people have done a great job at their jobs. But I'm curious, given this with the Celtics and given what happened in Dallas, is Jeannie Buss going to be a board of governors meetings in the future? And that's relevant to me personally a little bit, because how many men are sitting around that table versus how many women are sitting around that table is important.
Yeah, and I forgot what percentage Mark Walter is buying of the team. I know the valuation is $10 billion, but he's not buying 100% of it. I think the Buss family's going to own, because you own minority share in it. But that money, or that share and the money from it, is going to be divvied up amongst the Buss kids. Like, she's got to share her whatever piece of it that they're selling with her brothers. So look, I think this, obviously, if you're Jeannie Buss, this lays out the rules effectively, which I don't think the Celtics really were either not aware of or oblivious to when this announcement was initially made. Because when I talked to people in the league office, they were kind of like, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, but they were kind of like, hey, they put this out there, but this was never really what it was going to be. You always had to have that 15% stake. So now Jeannie knows what, rule she's playing by. If somehow she comes out of this with 15% of the team, then she can stay in that position of power. I think this is just, for the Celtics, it's bad news for Wyc, but I think this was always going to eventually be, not what Wyc wanted. And I say that as someone that believes that Wyc has been one of the great owners in Boston sports history. I mean, he came in and led a team to a championship, added on to a core that included Paul Pierce, led that team to a championship, rebuilt, won another championship, and has the Celtics, this year notwithstanding, in position to be a championship contender for many, many years to come. So his ownership resume, his ownership tenure has been virtually flawless. But new guy comes in, pays $6 billion. He's going to want his word to be the final word. He's going to want final say over all decisions. I never thought this was going to go till 2028 with Wyc Grousbeck as the team governor. Maybe ended more abruptly than I initially believed it was going to, but I can see, obviously, I saw Wyc and Chisholm at Summer League together. They seem to be getting along. They seem to be in sync. And look, this year is a rebuilding year. There's no financial stress. In fact, just the opposite. The Celtics, who just did a deal to move George Niang off the roster, now they are $4 million over the first tax apron, $12 million above the luxury tax threshold. Like, they are just going to continue to cut to try to get as far under both thresholds as they possibly can. So there's no pressure to win, pressure to spend, any of that stuff. But at some point there will be. And I think that's where, how you build a team, how much you spend, that's where certain tensions can certainly develop between a former owner and a current owner. So, he'll remain on board. Again, from what I understand, the dynamic is very good between these two men. But, year, 2 years, things can change. To your point, it only took months for Mark Cuban to be on the way out in Dallas in terms of basketball decision-making power. But it'll be interesting to see how all that plays out.
I get it. These guys Wyc was a very present owner, right? Mark Cuban, obviously an extremely present owner who felt that they built these franchises back up, after they took over. And you just gave Wic's resume has been exceptional in Boston. We know what Cuban did in Dallas, not just the championship, but making the team as relevant and as destination as it is, when you and I both know how it was before he came in and got involved. And I think it's difficult to see what has been your life's work for a long time in someone else's hands. But it's true with companies where, they buy out the founder and then they keep him on the CEO. And sometimes it works, but often it doesn't. The Lakers have been Jeannie Buss's life, literally her entire life. And I personally hope she can retain enough of an ownership stake to still be the governor, because again, she and Mark Walters reportedly get along great, and this was a friendship deal in some ways. But I think she's just been good for the game, and she's been a good, important voice in the league office, and has a ton of experience on the committee she's on. And it's good to see. I'd like to see more minority representation in those board of governors meetings, and I'd like to see more gender representation. And losing Jeannie Buss would be a blow to that. So
yeah, no question. Losing Jeannie Buss, losing a member of the Buss family at the table for the Los Angeles Lakers would be certainly new in the long history of the NBA. And to put a button on Wyc, I mean, it's got to be tough for him, because I don't think he really wanted to sell. This was the decision that was made.
I didn't want to say that.
His father, who's in his 90s, made this decision. And I understand it. You want to get your house in order as you're entering the twilight of life. I get it. And certainly you got a record price. You bought the team for $300 something million, and you're selling it for $6 billion. That's a pretty damn good investment if you're H. Irving Grousbeck. But certainly I think Wyc wanted this ride to last a little bit longer. I think Steve Pagliuca, another outgoing owner, wanted this
ride
to last a little bit longer. We don't have to do this, but I just find, we talked about the Connecticut Sun and that situation on the last show. It's gotten messier and messier since we talked about them. Now there's multiple teams, multiple cities. They want to keep the team in Hartford. Maybe there's a mistake. They want to, maybe
Boston,
move it to Texas.
To Boston. Do these women a favor.
Do everybody a favor. Move it to Boston. Give them the big market, the shine. Let them play at the TD Garden. Yes, of course, it'd be great.